His name is...
It's John Bunday. It is Tuesday the 9th of June and game 34 is finished. And it is Shenmue on the PC. So this is pledge game number 5. I forgot to say when I talked about Saints Row in the last video, that was pledge game number 4. So yeah, I'm halfway through my 10 pledge games of the year. Yay! So, Shenmue is a game that pretty much everyone has heard of, but I've never tried before. It was a Dreamcast classic, even though I have a physical Dreamcast. I bought the HD collection on PC several years ago now, but never actually got around to playing it. And I've annoyed a few people whenever they say you should play Yakuza, saying, no, I'm going to play the Shenmue series first. It's like, why? And it's like, well, to me, it's like a precursor to Yakuza. Yeah, there are not that many like similarities to it, but to me, you know, playing Yakuza and then like if it's as good as everyone says, which I don't doubt, but then going to play Shenmue is probably going to feel a bit basic in comparison. So that's why. And now I've beaten the first Shenmue, yay! So okay. So this game has a lot of history behind it, and I wasn't sure what to expect going in. So it's a game that you kind of take your time with. You, even though there's a run button and you do rush around, I guess, because there's a clock and you have the 24-hour day and you cannot speed up or slow down time. And also, if you want to move to the next day, you have to wait until you get past 8 p.m. before you can go to bed. So there are times where you are just waiting around for things to happen, and you can like go and spend money, like, you know, do arcade games, which I couldn't because when I tried to play Hang On, the game crashed. I got the achievement, but I didn't try again because I lost a bit of progress because I hadn't saved right before doing that. That's a quality of life improvement for the HD collection, is that they actually allow you to save at any point outside of like fights. So FYI, if you've been wanting to try the series but the idea of being able to save when you go back to your bedroom is a bit annoying, then no, you can now save in the HD collection, you know, like say during the lunch break when you're working. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's just seeing the recreation of a real life place in Japan. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the names, but it's okay, I say we're going to try, but Debuta, Yamase, Yosuki Harbor, Sagaraki. Okay, but yeah, so seeing the NPCs going around, the level of detail they put into this game for a time is awe-inspiring. So it's a game that I feel like actually everyone should really try. Okay, some of you will get bored, I think, but there's a lot here to appreciate and enjoy, and this is one of those games where I'm not going to say like it's a piece of art, but you can see like the dedication and love that's gone into it. And in a way, I guess, you know, it's a bit of a piece of art. So yeah, while I was playing it, one thing I did think is that it came out on the Dreamcast as well, and the PC, so same generation. But this game has some similarities, and this might be considered blasphemous, but you know, the game that was by why am I struggling to remember it? I really need to go on to Steam and double check, but the Nomad Soul, the David Bowie game. So if anyone who's played it, you might now go, oh okay, but Omicron, the Nomad Soul. Because within that, is a third person, you know, adventure game, and you get to walk around these like towns. It's a different setting and a different type of story, but in a way it feels very similar with the way you explore your, like, where you live. And there are certain cutscenes that you may never get to see. Like with Omicron, there were 3 David Bowie, concerts you can go and see, which you can completely miss. You can do a whole playthrough and never see any of them. And that's kind of the same with Shenmue, which there are cutscenes and interactions which you may never see. So, but yeah, the stories are very, very different. But they kind of did remind me of that because of walking around that game and also walking around this game. But yeah, Shenmue, go and play it. I still need to play Shenmue 2, and I will do that next year. So now, moving on to other things, and I should probably mention actually that my son also played some of this as well. He enjoyed playing the forklift section. He also tried doing the forklift race as well. He came fifth. He is only 6 to be fair, but also like tried to do like the working day with the forklift. so he enjoyed that, and also doing the gachas. He liked like putting like the 100 yens in to then see what different ones there were, because we're trying to get all the Sonic characters. I didn't get all of them. I didn't get Mouse Sonic or Super Sonic, but anyway, next game. It is Wednesday the 17th of June, and game 35 is finished. And it is Gunman Chronicles on the PC. So this is one that probably no one here has heard of. This is actually a published mod for Half-Life, the original Half-Life, published by Sierra, and it's got no connection to the Half-Life universe. It's set in it's its own setting, but it's set in like the future, and you play as a gunman, which is like the military, space military. And you start the game by you're about to go on a mission, and you get some lore about how you were like a hero because like of a mission in the past, and which the general bravely sacrificed himself. So you get to a mission, and then there are dinosaurs, but then also things happen. I don't really want to ruin the story. The game doesn't take too long. It took me about 3-4 hours, I think. It's not one you could buy anymore. It's not any of the digital storefronts, even though it's like technically connected to it's like part of the Half-Life stuff of like because it uses engine. But Valve haven't released it. I don't know if that's because it's tied up with like Sierra, maybe. I don't know. Either way, but you can download it as a mod off of ModDB, and then as long as you have Half-Life on Steam, then you can boot it that way. Which there'll be on the ModDB page. There's explanations for it. A lot of sounds are the same from Half-Life, but the textures, the weapons, everything have been changed. And like, so there's some cool stuff in here. If you like retro FPSs and it's free, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. So yeah, Game 35, Gunman Chronicles. I'm glad I played this. It's like really put me in the mood for some classic Half-Life action. So anyway. It is Tuesday the 23rd of June, and Game 36 is beaten. And it is Kowloon's Gate on the PS1. So this was a Japanese exclusive PS1 game, but it got a fan translation released about 2 weeks ago. For those who don't know, this is based on the former Kowloon walled city in Hong Kong, but it got knocked down in the early 90s, and then it's now a park. So there's a lot of history to this city, which, to be honest, I didn't really know anything about until I decided to, like, because I was going to play this game, look up a few documentaries on YouTube. Definitely recommend it. It's a fascinating place. But I'll try and condense that here. So, because Kowloon Walled City was part of China when in Hong Kong when it was owned by the British as part of the 99-year lease. So, in other words, there's a small area the size of 4 football pitches within Hong Kong, which is ruled by the British, but is actually a province of China. So the British had no control over it. their laws did not apply. And because this was in the middle of Hong Kong, the Chinese did nothing about it. So, in other words, things like, laws about food hygiene preparation didn't apply. So, apparently, like, a lot of food preparation was done there, and a lot of, like, restaurants in main Hong Kong would get that, like, say, noodles or fish and stuff from there that had been prepared because they were making it so cheap because the fact that, because there it was not regulated. They were having to worry about making sure that there were clean conditions, for example. So I mean, definitely go look it up on the internet. It's fascinating. So the idea of this game is that it's set in the year 1997. So after the walled city has been destroyed, but has now come back. So this game is very like steeped in like feng shui, yin yang, that kind of mysticism, because it's saying that the Kowloon Wall City has now come from the world of yang into the world of yin, I think it is, and we're the world of yin. But it's not like, the kind of setting that we might think of it is. It's not trying to be, 90s Hong Kong. It's kind of cyberpunk, but with magic, so there are people who have like, body modifications, and like people who are taking like drugs that they turn them into what's called Wangren, Wangren, as in part item, like part machine or part, object, and still a person. Like you'll meet Boiler Man, literally part boiler, part man. Keyhole Man, a man who is part keyhole, part man, and so forth and so forth. And that's part of the story. So, yeah, the way the gameplay works is, I should probably say your character is a feng shui master who is going to go investigate and sort out the fact that the city has appeared because it shouldn't be there, and so you have to sort out the QI flow around the city and try and get everything back to the way it's meant to be. So the game is split into two parts. There's what's like the mist-like sections, which is where you are exploring around the city, and then you get the choice of going left or right or forward if you can go straight ahead, or to interact. You also could use objects to like trigger certain like story progressions. This part is where it has the most like atmosphere and the most like detail of the game, and it's just like such a fascinating, like, it is not a one-to-one recreation of the Kowloon Wall City. The one thing I didn't see from like the YouTube documentaries is that there are tiny narrow streets because there's so many buildings being like just built in close together. Like it's pretty much kind of like barely more than a person's width between buildings, and there's just water falling down everywhere because of like pipes leaking overhead. Whereas in this game, there's wide like pathways, and there's even like big courtyards where there's like just bikes just like set up for people to go and ride. Like it's just, so they haven't recreated that part very well, but that's probably for like because of the atmosphere they're trying to make with this game. So I mean, the fact they probably would research the city, they probably know that, but for this game they went in a different direction. But yeah, this is, if you're looking for like art direction, all that kind of stuff, this is the place for it. Like, it is so much detail. But the kind of problem with this section is that because it's mist-like, you're trying to find different people or different things to interact with, and sometimes the game doesn't tell you what you need to do next, or you know what you need to do next, but you can't trigger it because you have to go and talk to some random NPC somewhere else, unrelated, to like then trigger the next bit. There are times I spend hours just going back and forth in different sections, talking to different people to try and trigger the next bits. So this game is not a short game because of the amount of time, unless if you're using a guide, you just going around just talking to people. But I would recommend not using a guide, at least for these bits, unless if you really get stuck, because as you go trigger different things, or you come back to different from like doing dungeons, which we'll get to in a moment, the dialogue changes and you see like the personalities of these people and how they react to how things are changing in the world around them, you know, and see them starting to trust you, you know. So, you know, there's a lot of good dialogue in this game. But like I say, like I spent like some evenings I was just going back and forth, back and forth. I stuck on YouTube videos just because, you know, the music doesn't change. You know, I mean, different locations it does, but when you're in the same location, just going back and forth, the music doesn't change. So the other part of the game is the like dungeon crawling sections. Within this is where you also have battles. There's no random encounters. It's where malice has built up, and it will turn the screen kind of pink, and then you can find the source of it, which you have to just find till your screen gets really wibbly, and then encounter it. Because the way the battle system works is each malice will be one of 5 different elements: fire, water, earth, of course, but then tree and metal. And each one will only be destroyed by its opposing element. So it's kind of like, so water beats fire, fire beats metal, metal beats tree, and tree beats earth, and earth beats water. And that's the way it works. It has like a star like system, that because you can't have all 5 elements saved into your weapon, because if you have all 5, you die automatically. So it's like this game of like trying to like either absorb or like destroy an enemy. So yeah, it's these sections like could have been better. They're very drab. Like this, I mean, I get like what they're going for, but for example, you're exploring like urban areas which have been abandoned, except they're completely bare. Like you expect to see like just chairs and tables like strewn about like rubbish, which you'll see that stuff in like the Myst-like section that I mentioned before. But with this bit, the dungeon crawling, there's F all in there, and I think that does let it down. I think it's kind of like sacrificing like the artisticness of the game, I guess. And also these sections can go on too long, and Jesus, I lost several hours of gameplay, of like progression, because if the dungeon you're in has a lift, that lift can glitch. And when I say glitch, it means it doesn't activate. And if it won't activate, you're screwed. So it is, you know, you get 3 save slots. You always have to ensure you have 1 save slot outside of the dungeon, just in case if the save slots you have in the dungeon, you know, are with the lift glitched. So I got to the 4th dungeon, I think it was, and that happened to me. And then I was just like, and also because some of the fights can be, you don't have to defeat all of the malice, because some of them, if we defeat them, unlock doors. So I just got the point of like, I just can't go through all this again. So I was just like, okay, use a guide to find which ass I actually need to defeat, and then just get through that dungeon, because I was like ripping my hair out because of losing the hours of progress I've made. So, but yeah. But even with that, it's a game, I don't know if I can like recommend this game. It's not a game for everyone. Definitely not. If I thought about it, I would have put a trailer in here.
ファイヤの日に会える。それが姉の言葉なの。夢の中でいつも決まって同じ。変ね、初めて会った人にこんな話するなんて。確かに感じる。姉のこと。
So if you've watched that and this seems like something you want to experience, go for it. But this is a long game and you will spend a lot of it just, just immersing yourself in the world, I guess. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I know this isn't a game for everyone. But I will probably never play a game quite like this. And, I'm glad I have. A game that is definitely not the same style of gameplay, but something that kind of like makes me reminisce about it is The Longest Journey, which was on the PC. I won't go into that too much here, but I played that before I ever did YouTube. But if you know that game, you know. But that's a point-and-click adventure game. But like the world building in that, this kind of reminds me of that. It's not because it's like, what this is, but it's just the same kind of artistry involved. So, but yes, I've been talking for 11 minutes, so we'll leave it there. Kowloon's Gate on the PS1. English translation. It is Tuesday, the 30th of June, and what might be the final game of the year. How many days are there in June? Hang on. Oh, no, this is definitely the last game. Or is it? So, of June is game 37, and it is Wario World on the GameCube. So, bit of history. As a kid, absolutely loved the Wario Land series on the Game Boy. Like, I just devoured those games. 4 was a bit disappointing for me, like a bit short and didn't have the same magic. 3 was kind of transitioning towards that, but playing 1 after playing Mario Land 1 and 2, and then playing Wario Land 2, which had all the different pathways, I just loved it as a kid. I played it as the black and white version, not the colour. So anyway, so I had a lot of love the series. I eventually got to play the Wii game. Wario. I think it was just Wario Land on there. Can't remember. I never got into the WarioWare series myself, but anyway, so you think I would pick this up like, because I had a GameCube back in the day, so you think I would pick this up like day one. No, I didn't actually. I never picked this up. I bought this about 8-9 years ago, when I was, that period of time when I was picking up a bunch of GameCube games I missed from way back when, like when I picked up Paper Mario Thousand Year Door and Skies of Arcadia and F-Zero, so forth and so forth. But I never got around to playing it. But there's a YouTuber that I like watching, some call me Johnny, who does like game reviews, and he's just done the Wario Land series, and he's about to do one for this. And I was like, well, I better play it then, so I know what the game is about before he reviews it. So that pushed me to play this. The game is deceptively long. I say that because, well, okay, background. Wario has, because he's kind of like a treasure hunter, has grabbed a jewel which is also like a monster and has turned all of his treasure into monsters and like destroy his castle. Because of course it has. And then what you have to do is go through 4 worlds, which comprise 2 levels each, and each level has a boss and then an overall boss for the world. So, yeah, 8 levels, and then like a bunch more bosses. So it doesn't sound very long, does it? But if you're trying to 100% each level, you can be in there for like an hour and a half each. So it surprised me. Because each level has 8 treasures to find, but you have to find a button to make the chest appear and then go back to wherever that chest would be, because each one is coloured. So you see like a little W platform and it'll be a certain colour representing the switch button that you've pressed elsewhere in the level. There's also 8 like little golden statues, which together will give you a health upgrade once you've got out of the level. There's also like 8, or is it 10? 8? 10? Like rubies that you don't have to collect, but to get to the boss of the level, it needs you to get a minimum amount, which the first world is 3, and then it goes up each world. And lastly, there is 5, like, I can't remember what they're called, but like little like fairy creatures in each level. And depending on the castle you get at the end of the game, it depends on if you've collected all those. So you don't have to 100%, but if you want to get the best ending, you have to free each 5 of these fairy things from each level. If you want to get the health upgrades, you need to get all 8 of the health upgrades for each level. If getting all the treasure, as far as I could tell, just unlocks the ability to download WarioWare minigames to your Game Boy Advance via the link cable. I have a GBA, I have the link cable, I haven't tried that feature, to be honest I'm not really interested. It's pretty cool it's there, don't get me wrong, I love the fact they included it, and I miss the fact that you don't have that kind of stuff anymore. Because the GBA connectivity I loved back in the day, you know, Zelda Wind Waker allowed a second person to play as Tingle via the Tingle tuner, you know, that was great. And like Pokemon Colosseum and Gale of Darkness did things as well, so yeah. Anyway, but so I did 100% it, and there were times where like I just want a level to be over, if I'm brutally honest, because the game actually has some ideas which make me think were then reused for things like Mario Galaxy, funnily enough, because to get those rubies that I mentioned, you have to go into like little mini challenges, which is where you have to do some kind of platforming obstacle. Some of them can be evil. Like the last one that I did for the very last level, you know, if you imagine like a scale of 1 to 10, all the challenges before that were like a 5, that was a 10. So it was just like, great. Yeah. They really made you work for that one. So, yeah, and the first level of the third world, which was like a snowy mountain, a couple of the health upgrades are on like downward slopes, which you can't go back up the slope. You have to go back to the beginning of the level. At the end of each level, there's a globe that will take you back to the very beginning again if you want to, but you have to go through. And it's not like a narrow the way you know, just kind of miss it. No, it's quite wide, and you need to know like pixel perfect where you need to be to go down to get. Yay! But yeah, so yeah, so Gary, I enjoyed the game, but at the same time, I think I would prefer shorter levels but more levels. So, but yeah. Also, what surprised me, because it's nowhere on the case that I can see, but in the credits, right above Nintendo's name is Treasure. You know, treasure as in Gunstar Heroes treasure. So that came as a bit of a surprise, but yeah. So, yeah, is that the last game of the month? Let's find out. It is still Tuesday the 30th of June, and game 38 is finished, and the last game for June, and it is an absolute classic, Sonic & Knuckles on the Mega Drive. So this is my original copy from when I was a kid, and you can see the box has not been, you know, managed to survive all those years in the best conditions. I mean, it's gone through like several house moves and so forth and so forth. But anyway, so yeah, it's a bit early, but this is for the Mega Drive Challenge, because I already know that during the summer we're going to have Sonic & Knuckles be one of the games, but I won't be here because I'm going to be spending a lot of the summer up in Scotland. So I wanted to get this out of the way. To be fair, I think it's on one of the minis, but I didn't want to have to worry about potentially trying to find time to play, and considering I know how long the recording of this was, or you know, an hour and 40 minutes, try to find that length of time when I'm either at the in-laws or something could be a bit difficult. So I've played it now ahead of time, and I've uploaded it to YouTube. It's not going to go live until, you know, the challenge is actually set, but you know, I've got my score ready. So yeah, I've never actually beaten the game with Sonic. So like this, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've played Sonic 3 and Knuckles to death. Like, you know, I've got save files with all the different combination of characters, like, you know, Sonic and Tails, Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, you know, with all the emeralds and everything fully completed. But I got Sonic and Knuckles before I got Sonic 3. And so I play a lot of that just on its own. And then eventually, like, I did rent, I think, once or twice Sonic 3 from Blockbusters until eventually I got my own second-hand copy while I was still a kid, and then put the two together, and I was just like mind blown with its epic adventure and got to Doomsday Zone at the end. So I think I did beat it with Knuckles when I just had this game on my own, on its own, but I never actually beat it with Sonic until today. So, which is why I'm definitely including it as part of my completion. I didn't get all 7 emeralds, I got 2, but there's no way I would be able to do all the Blue Spheres stages, that wasn't going to happen. But I'm happy, it's a classic, and yeah, Sonic and Knuckles, what more can I say? It's, yeah. On to July.